Have you heard the good word about Sarenrae? Sarenrae is a goddess within the Pathfinder universe. There is also a very similar goddess in the Vox Machina world as well. They are different people, although they are very similar. For our purposes today, I will be talking about Sarenrae within the Paizoverse. Who is she? Why is she important to the Pantheon when it comes to Pathfinder and Starfinder? If I was to summarize Sarenrae, I would say these things about her. She teaches temperance and patience in all things. Compassion and peace, these are some of her greatest virtues. And if the enemies of faith can be redeemed in any way, she will choose to do this. For some, however, there is nothing other than glory, nothing other than death, and redemption is not attainable for them. It is not something that they seek. For those who actively choose to reject her offer of redemption, well, they will meet a swift and harsh judgment from Sarenrae's scimitar. Now, because Sarenrae is good with a sword, she also expects this of her followers, that they would be proficient with swords. Even better if you can do it with a scimitar, or a flaming scimitar if you can get your hands on a magic item. Since we're talking about Sarenrae, I cannot do this without mentioning Asmodeus and Rovagug. Sarenrae is known throughout the Pantheon as being one of the earliest deities to fight and battle against Rovagug. During this time, this battle, this war that Sarenrae was fighting against Rovagug, she did best him in combat, and she banished Rovagug to the center of the planet to be his prison, essentially. The planet that she banished him to, that was Golarion. This will be a very significant problem later, which we will talk about. In this battle against Rovagug, Sarenrae did not act alone. She did have help. Asmodeus is the one who helped bind the beast to his prison. It is then said that once the beast was placed inside the planet, inside his cell, Sarenrae placed the eternal flames of the raging sun to ever torment Rovagug. Now, a little bit about Asmodeus. He is one of the most powerful archdevils when it comes to the 9 hells. He was also the only one of hell's rulers to ever claim full divinity. He is also credited with penning or writing the contract of creation. So, why would a deity of goodness ever work with one of the archdevils of hell? Sarenrae does believe that all non-evil gods are basically her friend, or at least companion in that sense. She even still communicates with the evil deities because she does believe that everyone has a shot at redemption. You'll notice this is kind of a recurring theme for Sarenrae. This does not mean that she does not trust the evil deities. She's not an idiot. When it comes to Asmodeus specifically, she has quite a few arguments with him all the time because they argue over dead souls, basically. In the mind of Sarenrae, she really only has one enemy, and that would be Rovagug. Now, in terms of what Sarenrae actually looks like, it's pretty easy. When she manifests her physical presence, she takes the form of a bronze angelic beauty. Her golden hair flows not only with the color of gold, but also it flows with natural flame. From one hand, she emits a holy light that sometimes trickles down and acts like liquid luminescence. In her other hand, she holds a great big sword, a flaming scimitar specifically. Just being in her presence, standing in her radiant light, the aura that emanates from her is naturally healing. And her scimitar, when she swings it, the wind it creates eliminates disease. It eliminates fear in those who stand in the winds. Now, Sarenrae is kind of a big deal.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
She has numerous angelic servants, some of which she uses to prepare the way. Others deliver messages for her. There is one servant that stands out in particular. This would be her herald, the Holy Sun Lord Thalakos. Chaos. It's not chaos. Thalakos. Thalakos is a silver-skinned angel, and Thalakos, he likes to make a bit of an entrance because wherever he goes, 11 doves just kind of pop out and go before him. Thalicos acts as a liaison between the mortal world and the realm of astral divas. Fun fact, Thalicos stands at 8 feet tall and weighs 300 pounds-ish. Though he is angelic, he is peaceful and merciful by his general nature. He is also extremely kind. These are all the hallmarks of Sarenrae. This does not mean that he is a pushover and not an absolute beast in combat. Don't mess with angels. Just don't do it. Thalicos used to make regular trips to the astral plane, the physical world in which all of Pathfinder happens in. This was, of course, before the death of Eridan. He was often delivering prophecies during this time as well. However, in the modern day of Pathfinder, you don't really see much of Thalicos unless there's an auspicious birth. Now, before we move on to some history of Sarenrae, there's a few things I need to get out of the way first. One, if you are enjoying the video and want to see more like this, please let me know by hitting the thumbs up button. And if you want to see more Pathfinder, more Starfinder lore content from myself, then please hit subscribe with the bell notification. I would love to have you join me at the table. The Cult of the Dawnflower, this is a well-meaning but militant group of the Church of Sarenrae. They're the folks that you send in when shit gets real. The cult had a very strong presence in the region of Qadira. It did expand, and the worship of Sarenrae was highly promoted in these areas because they were trying to take control of some nearby regions, and they didn't take kindly to this. Eventually, the Dawnflower cult's leaders would be rounded up and exiled to the deserts of Thuvia. One section of the cult did flee. They managed to escape capture. They instead went south and formed basically a new city and a new version of the cult, which they called Sarenrae's Bastion. They also founded the Golden City. I did mention that Rovagug was Sarenrae's only true enemy. So let's talk a little bit about Rovagug. What was he like? He was a real treat. Rovagug is a little bit like a worm. A giant worm, one that can fit inside of a planet, one that has so many limbs, so many eyes. There is not a number to define how many he has. And that doesn't say anything about the amount of claws or teeth it also has, which again, there isn't a number big enough for that. Rovagug's only goal is to destroy anything that the gods have created. Since his imprisonment inside the planet Golarion, he's become quite restless, as one would be when you're stuck in a jail cell. Now, his restless stirrings, these are actually causing problems for the inhabitants of Golarion, like volcanoes. It is said that even in a time before the Aboleths remember, before the emergence of Zon-Kuthon, Rovagug sought to destroy the world. The gods, seeing their creation under threat, decided to band together, something that they had never done before. They all took a stand against Rovagug to protect what they had created. Now, even with all of their might combined, they couldn't destroy Rovagug, or maybe they just didn't want to. Maybe they decided they might need a beast like this if they wanted to do a reset, a do-over, a mulligan. With Rovagug stuck in the planet with his prison, he almost got out several times and was able to split his prison and let out a lot of his minions. These splits in the earth, they happened before Eridan raised the Starstone. They even happened after. As you might imagine, there isn't much that Rovagug likes. There's many things, all things he hates, but there's only one being, one entity that he hates most of all. And if you didn't say Sarenrae, you are wrong. There is one other relationship that Rovagug has that's kind of interesting. There is a being, an entity, if you will, that lives above Pharasma's boneyard. It is called Grotus, and it is a god of the end times. Grotus is a sentient and cruel moonlet. It looks down from its position high above the boneyard, waiting for the last soul to die, for the last soul to stand before Pharasma. No one knows exactly what's supposed to happen once Pharasma judges the last soul in the boneyard. What is very likely to happen, though, is Grotus will do a cleanup of the material plane. No one knows for sure what's going to happen, probably not even Pharasma. But it is generally accepted that whatever does happen, or whatever Grotus does, will generally not be pleasant. Unsurprisingly, Rovagug does have a church. It does have followers. His worshippers are usually savage monsters and human nihilists. He is also the primary deity of the orcs, which is maybe not so surprising. And usually they will be wearing a mask of some kind of monster or some kind of monstrosity. Now, within the world of Golarion, within the Paizoverse, Sarenrae has existed for a very long time. Sarenrae has also persisted through the gap and exists within the Starfinder universe. She is still a major deity, but her primary location, her main source of worship, has changed from Golarion because Golarion is missing, which means Rovagug has disappeared. Now, within Starfinder, there is a city inside the Pact World's sun. This is the new primary location for Sarenrae and her followers. There are temples throughout the Pact Worlds, but the main location, the Holy Mecca, is inside the Pact World's star, called the Burning Archipelago. Even in the far-flung future, Sarenrae's attitude has not changed. She is still merciful, she is still kind, and she still believes in redemption. In the distant future, Golarion is missing, Rovagug is missing. What do you think happened to it? Tell me in the comments below. If you want to learn more about the City in the Sun with Starfinder, you need to click here. Or if you just want to see more Pathfinder lore, I have you covered here as well. Thank you to all of my patrons for supporting me and the channel. I'm going to be moving into my new studio space, hopefully in a few weeks. My name's Nathaniel. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.